కొంచెం వచ్చాను.
A very good evening to all of you. So thank you very much for
for 2 minutes off.
So a very good evening to all of you. I'm Dr. Mangala, consultant psychiatrist at SCARF, and I have with me, along with me, Mr. Chiranjeevi, who's a research assistant, a public health expert, who's a part of the team SCARF, and he will be the co-moderator today. And both of us together, we are going to have an interesting discussion with all of you about mental health is whether it is inclusive or elusive. So we chose today because today is observed as the National Insurance Awareness Day. I think many of us are not aware of that to begin with. So we thought, okay, there is a lot of dialogue and discussion going on about mental health insurance. And so we thought this should be the right day and the right platform to initiate a discussion. We are not here to point fingers about what is not available and what has to be. We are just trying to get together to discuss and see how we can take this forward and try to achieve some kind of acceptable solutions which is beneficial for all the stakeholders. So that is the whole idea of having this panel discussion today. And I have a team of eminent panelists here. I think I saw Sanjay Pinto. I don't think Sanjay Pinto needs an introduction to this audience. He's a face we have all seen on NDTV for several years before he moved from the newsroom to the courtroom, as his status on WhatsApp says. And he's now a very busy legal practitioner. He's an advocate in the Madras High Court, but he continues to write, and he's very passionate about the cause of mental health insurance. And thank you, Sanjay, for accepting our invitation to be here today. And we have with us, oh, hi. So we have with us another medical doctor, Dr. Meenakshi. She's a practicing consultant ophthalmologist. And she's here with us today as a service user. I mean, she's a caregiver for a family member, and she's here to share with us about her experience with getting mental health insurance coverage for her niece. And Ms. Narjis Hussain, she's a freelance journalist, an excellent journalist from New Delhi, and she has been an Essence Fellow. She has done a fellowship in mental health, very passionate about mental health. And she did a wonderful article on the insurance, the status of mental health insurance in this country, a 2-part article. I think it's available for people to read on the internet. I think it's available on the SCARF website as well. So thank you very much, Narjis, for being here. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we are looking forward to hear from you. And we have Mr. Muthu, who's an administrative officer with New India Assurance, the lone man to defend the insurance industry in this panel today, because all the others are going to be pointing fingers at the insurance agencies. And the other panelist, Dr. Bhagyam, unfortunately could not join today because of some health issues. So I think we will move forward into the discussion. So before we begin, I think we need to have a basic idea of what is the status of mental health in this country. If we recall the NMHS survey, the National Mental Health Survey done by the NIMHANS in 2015-16, it reported that over 80% of persons with depressive disorders or substance use disorders or anxiety disorders, they do not have access to treatment. And yeah, stigma and lack of awareness can be one of the reasons why people don't access treatment. But the other major factor that loomed large in front of them was the cost of treatment. It can be probably, some of them can be the actual hard expenditure for the medication, for the treatment. And there are other out-of-pocket expenses like the travel costs and losing daily wages when they have to go for a consultation from one place to another. And all this also brought up that we have all the participants, please keep your mics on mute. Or I think you may have to keep everybody on mute. Yeah. So because of these facts, I think, and there is a dearth of mental health professionals available in the government service, which also is another reason why most of the treatment has to be from the private sector. I think we will have a rough idea of the cost from Chiranjeevi.
Hello. So, according to the WHO estimate, the out-of-pocket expenditure in India is as high as 62%. But in compared to the global, it is only 32%, right? And according to the survey conducted by NMHS in 2015-16, a family seeking the mental disorders nearly spend 1,000 to 1,500 every month on travel alone. And there are the intangible charges which are not covered. And in lower middle income countries like India, which found to be the only the promising strategy is to be the mental health insurance, right? So yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Chiranjeevi. I think we will start the panel discussion with Dr. Meenakshi. Dr. Meenakshi, you were mentioning to us about how you had some specific challenges in getting insurance coverage for your niece, who has a diagnosis of a chronic psychotic illness. So could you please share with us your experience with the insurance?
Okay. My eldest sister and brother-in-law, they passed away, and this is their second daughter. Her name is Lalita. And after my sister and brother-in-law passed away, I became the legal guardian for my niece. And on treatment with Dr. Padmavati for the last several years. So while we were coming to SCAR for treatment for medication and for other tests, then I suddenly felt that she also needs a health insurance. So why can't I go and approach some health insurance offices regarding her health policy? So I did go to United India, and they also said that they don't have any insurance policies because she's mentally ill. She's otherwise okay. She's non-diabetic, non-hypertensive, and she doesn't have a cardiac problem. The same thing, I was turned down by other insurance also because the insurance companies didn't have anything against my niece, but it's just that because she happened to be mentally ill, they said the policy cannot be taken. So I was really perplexed because we need insurance for so many things. The person can have dengue fever, they need a hospitalization. And even then we need an insurance policy because the bills can run to several thousands or even a lakh or more. So it was really dismaying because I didn't know just because a person is mentally ill, the policy itself could not be taken. So, and it's not just one insurance, all the insurance said the same thing. So I've been to almost all I've been to Star Health, I've been to New India, and also to National Insurance. All four said the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, that is very unfortunate. Sanjay, I think you must like throw some light on. Do you think insurance companies can actually reject a policy for someone on any grounds? You are muted, Sanjay. You must unmute yourself.
I would like to ask Dr. Meenakshi as to whether this was before 2017 or after 2017 when they reject.
No, it's very much after 2017. In
the okay. Last 2 now, years. All right. Now, let me make it very clear. All these insurance companies that you named and all the others as well that do not cover mental illness are in violation of Section 21(4) of the Mental Health Care Act of 2017. They are also in violation of an Insurance Regulatory Development Authority Circular number 128 dated 16th August 2018. Both the statutory provision of Section 21(4), subsection 4 of the Mental Health Care Act and the IRDA circular are very clear that you cannot discriminate against those who have mental illness, that mental illness should be treated on par with any physical illness. And insurance companies must, in fact, the IRDA circular goes a step ahead and says that the IRDA should, in fact, supervise the functioning of these insurance companies to ensure that no discrimination is meted out to those who seek policy coverage. And every policy cannot have mental illness as an exclusion. It cannot be excluded. It is illegal. In fact, I am willing to fight this case pro bono on behalf of SCARF or anyone else, because I believe that this is discriminatory. Apart from the statutory provisions, you also have constitutional provisions that are not merely granted to you, they are guaranteed. And these are fundamental rights. Fundamental rights under Article 21 of the Constitution of India, which includes the right to timely medical care. Fundamental rights under Article 15, which prohibit any discrimination on any count whatsoever. So all these companies must be in sync with the law of the land and not discriminate. They are liable for contempt of court as well. There is even a Bombay High Court Division Bench judgment, Kedia versus Union of India, which very clearly says that the provisions of the Act have to be followed. So I'm shocked that insurance companies don't seem to be aware of this. And if they, after 2017, especially after 2018, if they deny insurance for mental health care, then they are absolutely off the mark and are liable to be prosecuted for this. And I'll tell you some of the things, how it plays out. Forget insurance for one step. The second challenge actually is to get insurance. The first challenge actually is to get hospitalization. Do you know that many of the top tier hospitals refuse to admit patients with mental health issues? The standard excuse is that, no, what if they harm themselves? That is why the legislature in its wisdom carved out section 115(1) and 115(2), which says there's a presumption of extreme stress when it comes to even attempt to commit suicide. So that is taken care of. It goes a step ahead and says this government has a duty to ensure that there is no discrimination, especially with those who have suicidal tendencies. The fact of the matter is that these hospitals, for them, it's dead investment. To have a room occupied for a long time, because the room occupied should also sort of coincide with some procedure or operation. In this case, there's no procedure or operations. They feel that they're just occupying beds for a long time. It's not economically viable for them. It's pure commerce. And no hospital that claims to be a multi-speciality hospital, a super specialty hospital, cannot claim to be that if they cannot treat an important facet of health, which is the mind. So I think these hospitals must really, even the Advertising Standards Council of India can be roped in. You cannot call yourself specialty. The word specialty cannot be used if you do not treat issues concerning the mind. So that is my preliminary submission. I'm happy to answer questions later about legal remedies, but I'm sorry to hear about your niece being refused. I think that should be challenged, and we will come to that in the course of this discussion.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. I think it's very heartening to note that the law definitely has taken a stand on this. But if we look at if we trace the trajectory of where mental health insurance is today, though the Mental Health Care Act was implemented, it was implemented in 2018. The Act came into being in 2017 and then implemented in 2018. But since then, the IRDAI has been giving repeated guidelines, repeated directives to all the insurance companies, but it was always facing resistance from the players in the field, because they were not willing to take up mental health insurance till October 2020, when an ultimatum was issued that all health insurance policies should cover mental health. So I think I will move on to Mr. Muthu. Sir, so why do you think this is happening with the insurance companies? What is the difficulty in accepting mental health for insurance coverage? Is he there?
Yeah.
Mr. Muthu?
Hello, sir.
Sir, I think நீங்க மியூட்ல இருக்கீங்க. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry, sir. நீங்க பேசுறது கேட்கல. ஹலோ, நாங்க பேசுறது கேக்குதா சார்?
Shruti, I think you must check on his connectivity. No, we are not able to hear him. We are not able to hear him. Yeah. Okay, I think we will come back to Mr. Muthu for his defense from what Mr. Sanjay has already spoken about. So I think I will move on to Narjis. Narjis, I think you must have had a variety of information that you gathered from a lot of stakeholders when you were doing your article on mental health insurance. So do you think you can share some of your experiences with us?
Yes, ma'am, sure. But please allow me to speak in, Hindi and English both. When I was
Hindi might be a little difficult, Narjis, because
okay.
Most of us may not follow. So maybe it will be better if you stick to English.
Okay. When I was working on the mental health and insurance in 2020, then I came to realize that although the act, implemented in 2018, but it is on the paper, not on the ground. However, the situation is quite clear in 2021, as Sanjay sir already said. I want to discuss one case here, which is a Bombay-based case, and this is Dr. Harish, Dr. Harish Shetty. The case was that one lady doctor who is, she is also a doctor, and she was suffering with severe depression. She was hospitalized in a private hospital, and she diagnosed with, she was on medication. And when she claimed for the, claim of medical insurance from Oriental Insurance, the company was Oriental Insurance, they straightforwardly refused to, give back the claim. Then she came to Dr. Harish Shetty. He is also a psychiatrist working in around 40 years in the field of, mental health. And he was a doctor of Sushant Singh Rajput also at that time. So he forwarded her case to the IRDAI, and the very, ups and downs, after many ups and downs, at the end of the 4 week, the insurance company submit their apologies with the claim to that fellow, to that lady doctor. So I want, I felt that don't give up first. And in most of the cases, even when I talk to so many, insurance agents and insurance company, the top officials of insurance company, they even didn't, aware about the Mental Health Act, and they misguided you. they don't aware. They said कि आपको ये cover कर लेंगे, वो नहीं है, and it varies on the premium also. फिर वो they are completely unaware. They try to show also कि नहीं नहीं ऐसा नहीं है. We talk about we stick only to the health insurance. So in India, I think when I was already working on this, I think 50 to 75% of जो applications hai, these are rejected because of give up tendency of the customer, or the follow up, they don't want to follow up so much, or the agencies or the medical insurance companies attitude towards them. So these are the pitfalls of why they are not giving the claims to the patient, and the patient feels so much difficulties to gain their claim. So number one, I found that the unawareness of the Medical Healthcare Act.
Okay. Okay.
By
Yeah.
the insurance agencies or agent.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a very valid point. I think when there is a lack of awareness about mental health issues in the general public, I think it covers people who are working in the industry.
And
insurance
this is the this is the high profile case. It is fought for the by the practitioner doctor. But what about the other cases? What about the
Yes.
general public? These are the major challenges, and these are the major questions.
Yeah. So I think we have Muthu back with us. Sir, நீங்க unmute பண்ணிக்கணும், sir.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam.
Yeah. Sir, we have 3 cases now which are talking about why insurance was rejected. So, இது வந்து எதனால sir இப்படி ஆகுது? Why do you think this is happening in the insurance industry?
Madam, 2008, even though if it is introduced in 2000, but we have received a clear-cut policy conditions only after 2020 April, madam. April, we have received a clear-cut policy. All the general insurance policies covering a mental illness, but they are insisting 4 years waiting period.
Okay.
After 4 years, automatically it is covered, but subject to 25% on some insured. It is provided they are giving a coverage.
Okay. Sanjay, I think I would like to hear from you. How much do you agree with that kind of a provision that insurance companies are offering? You have to unmute yourself.
I'm getting muted, I think, by the admin. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The very basis for any insurance policy is the doctrine of utmost good faith. Very often, it's the insurance company that actually throws the rule book onto the hapless customer, the patient, saying, look, you did not disclose this, you did not disclose that. For instance, a condition like dementia, nobody knows if it's pre-existing or not. Suddenly there are symptoms, especially among the elderly population. Suddenly there are symptoms of people behaving differently, and then it is diagnosed after a lot of trial and error. So these are things that you cannot, you won't even be aware in the first place for you to disclose them. What about it cutting both ways? How many insurance agents who claim commissions for every policy, almost by default, explain the policy fine print to the customers? How
Yes.
are the fine print conditions, how are they printed in such small font that you need actually a magnifying glass to read it? And the Law Commission of India came down heavily on such contracts, saying these are standard form contracts, they are lopsided, they do not represent the will of the parties concerned, they only represent the will of the printing press. That's why they are called contracts of adhesion, they are called pretended contracts. So therefore, the fine print is not disclosed properly to the customer. So the doctrine of utmost good faith is violated by the insurance companies in the first place.
Okay.
The question of, again, they have this domiciliary treatment and all that. domiciliary hospitalization, which is a contradiction in terms. You know, the IRDA in 2013 issued a very strange circular saying 2 conditions have to be met. One, that it should be impossible to take the patient to the hospital. And secondly, that it shouldn't be, you should be able to treat the person in the house. Now, in the age of air ambulances and all that, it's completely redundant. And you have these wheels within wheels. You have, for instance, above 75 years of age, when people actually need insurance. Let's face it, nobody takes an insurance policy with the aim of using it. We all take insurance with a fond hope and prayer that we will never have to claim insurance. But life is full of imponderables. And a patient, a human being, cannot be equated with an automobile to have a cap on number of services and free service and all that. The human body is complex. And so therefore, it has to be treated very differently. Caps, wheels within wheels, 30% co-payment. After 75%, your premium will skyrocket. To get an average, for an average family, you need at least 5 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees for hospitalization, for insurance. And what is the premium? You get 18%, you're slapped with 18% GST on this, which I think is absolutely Shylockian. So I think it's time for, there are some good insurance companies. I'm saying, I don't want to mention names here and give them a commercial plug, but there are some good private insurance companies. I know from first-hand experience how they have processed claims for mental illness.
Okay.
When you tell them, what they actually insist on is they insist on a clear certificate from the treating doctor to show that that hospitalization was necessary. So that's what they go by. That is vital to get your paperwork in order. Very often the paperwork is not really. So I think the agents actually have a duty to help them with the paperwork so that all the paperwork is intact and in order. And it's difficult for them because the mindset often is rejection. The mindset is, okay, this claim, let's find a loophole, let's reject it. But people are helpless. They take an insurance policy with a legitimate expectation that on a rainy day, they'll be bailed out. And when they are not, like in the case of Dr. Meenakshi's niece, then you set them back by several months or years if you have had hospital bills to pay up from your own expenses. Then you'd rather invest that money instead of a premium every month, invest that every year, invest that as an FD and pay from your own pocket because they're not doing you a favor. They're not paying you from their pocket. That's an insurance business. So I think insurance companies must come clean. There must be greater transparency and they must explain to people, yes, this 4-year exclusion and all that. These exclusions have to be explained very clearly. Different illnesses, they have permanent illness which is not covered, temporary illness, limited illness, one illness. It's like insurance become a package deal today. And let's face it, Dr. Mangala, India is still a welfare state. Under Article 47 of the Directive Principles of State Policy, the state has a duty to promote public health. And therefore, when most of us avail treatment in private hospitals, because government hospitals don't have the infrastructure to treat such a vast majority of people, therefore, they need to do something to make insurance claims seamless and easy and less cumbersome for the common patient, the common citizen.
Perfect. Perfectly said. But then this 4-year waiting period, I think, is in par with physical ailments as well. I think
yes, there's no discrimination on that front. Yeah, on that front, there's no discrimination. Yes.
Yeah. So it is there both for physical illnesses, if there is a diabetes or hypertension. So talking about...
Ma'am,
yeah.
One point I want to make. As Sanjay sir said, it's extremely right. I want to add one thing here. When you go and get your insurance claim, Bombay and Delhi High Court, especially Bombay and Delhi High Court, have passed orders in favor of customers.
Yeah.
So
Bombay High Court was at Vishal Kedia versus IRDA, and Delhi High Court was during the pandemic. You know, they said that you have to, because the pandemic had a toll on mental health. So that was a Delhi High Court judgment as well.
So these are all orders are all in the favor of patients.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and also I must add, Dr. Mangala, very quickly that the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission has very clearly said that when there is ambiguity in terms of interpretation of an insurance clause in the policy, the benefit should go to the customer. That's what they've said. The benefit should go to the customer.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. So we have to look for those ambiguities in the law. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, sir. And like you were talking about the private insurance, right? Similar to that, PMJ is also there. The Prime Minister's Jan Arogya Yojana, which covers all the pre-existing conditions too. And it covers 5 lakh per family per year. It doesn't look at like how many, number of family, the size of the family, or the existing condition, that it is also transferable across states, right? So that is, and thank you, sir. And we know that the IRDA is doing the best they can do, and still we are like seeing some cases like ma'am. So it is there in the paper, and it is like not implemented as such, right? So
No, another thing that I want to mention here is that, it's not just with mental health, but also physical ailments as well. This 1% cap on room rent. See, people need to understand the fine print. If you take a policy, let's say of 5 lakh, 1%, do the math, I'm not very good in math. 1% is what, 5,000 rupees? So 5,000 rupees is a cap on room rent. How many corporate hospitals will give you a room for 5,000 rupees? If you go to an ICU, it's almost 10 times that. And going to an ICU is not like an upgrade from economy class to business class on an aircraft. It is born out of necessity, right? Whether somebody needs a ventilator or not, or needs ICU environment or not, is something which is an evolving condition. So the cap on ICU treatment is 2% of your actual total insurance claim. So you see, all these conditions which are inbuilt are patently unfair and are anti-consumer.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I think Mr. Muthu, you will have to now answer why is it happening this way. I have two issues here. One, covering mental health issues per se, and the other one is covering physical ailments in persons with mental health issues. So I think these two will have to go hand in hand, because we have a lot of issues which patients face because of both these, the lack of coverage for both these reasons. So can you please throw some light on that?
Madam, hello. Madam, at the time of taking the policy, we have to take a health checkup, madam. If we and the time health checkup, based on that we have covered now. And the time of settlement, there is no dispute in claim settlement, madam.
Okay. Okay.
We have introduced on policy recently. Just last week, we have introduced on policy covering at the age of 45, madam. In the policy, there is no room rent cap. Mr. Pinto சொன்ன மாதிரி அந்த ரூம் கேப் கிடையாது. பிளஸ் அதர் எயில்மெண்ட், அதாவது அவங்க சொல்ற ஒரே ஒரு கண்டிஷன் என்னன்னா, ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் treatment shall be undertaken at a hospital categorized as a mental health establishment or at a qualified mental health professionals.
Okay.
இந்த மாதிரி இருக்கிற ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்ல அவங்களுக்கு ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் கொடுக்குறப்ப எந்த ப்ராப்ளமும் இல்லை அப்படின்றாங்க. பட் 1% ஆஃப் த சம் இன்சூர்ட் ஏன் கேப் ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்றாங்கன்னா, பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் they are charging inordinate. அதை கண்ட்ரோல் பண்றதுக்கு தான் அந்த 1% ஆஃப் த சம் இன்சூர்ட் ஒரு கேப் வைக்கிறாங்க. இதுதான் மெயின் ரீசன், மேடம்.
இல்ல, but let me tell you frankly, sir, Mr. Muthu, that when you go to any hospital on the ground, when you go to any hospital, the moment they know that you have an insurance policy, they'll find out what is the policy, because you have to submit it at the time, the cashless hospitalization. There's a separate rate for those who have insurance, for insurance patients. They're right on the board, insurance patient. Correct. So the rates are jacked up automatically when you have insurance. This is a fact on the ground.
30% they are increasing.
Well, look at that.
Right, sir. 30% they are increasing.
Yeah. So that is a completely different discussion, which I don't think will have any reasonable decision or finish. We are going to take it up now. Yeah.
Madam, one more thing. We are all the insurance companies, they are having your private settlement agency, because we don't have a knowledge of medical terms. That's why we are having your separate settlement agency. All the claims are processed by doctors only. So everything is based on doctor's decision only, madam. So if the doctor clear it is admissible, there is no problem in claim settlement.
Okay.
The problem எப்போ வருதுன்னா, அந்த கன்சர்ன் டாக்டர் some clarification some query raise பண்ணி மேலும் கேட்டு ப்ராப்ளம் பண்றப்பதான் the problemமே raise ஆகுது.
Okay.
The person who pays the piper calls the tune. The person who pays the piper calls the tune. If the doctor is on the payroll of the insurance company, anybody's guess as to where the loyalty will lie.
Yes, sir, they are not the insurance companies are, it is a private agency they are appointing.
Okay.
The only settlement agencies they are appointing.
Okay. Nargis, can you please tell us how the mental health scenarios, insurance scenario is different in India from the other countries?
Yes. In India, the biggest drawback is health insurance lies in private sectors. There is no, a big health insurance sector scheme in India except Ayushman Bharat. But Ayushman Bharat, rural or urban, it is meant only for the BPL families, not for the general public, and it covers the mental health or mental illness treatment. Only give the insurance claim to the government hospitalization patients, not for the private hospitalization patients. Number one. In US, there are Medicaid and Medicare. Both are their medical health, health insurance. This is for all citizens of the US. And for children, they have the separate insurance claim that is called CHIP. This is Children's Health Insurance Program. Apart from this, there are two health insurance schemes, which is TRICARE and VA Healthcare. This is only meant for the military staff, and these the all of these health insurance covers mental health, IPD, OPD, consultancy, medical, diagnosis, hospitalization, rehabilitation, each and everything they provide. In the same line, in UK, if we are talking about UK, their national health system is meant for all, and it covers the entire population, physical as well as their mental illnesses, because these are developed countries and they know the value of mental health. They know the connection between mental and as well as physical health. People and citizen are their assets, so they spend more on public health rather than here in our country, in India. So Ayushman Bharat is the good initiative, but it is not covering for, it's not, it is not meant for each and every citizen of this country. So these are the basic things. And number three is health is a state subject here. It's a state subject here, and if you see the recently, epidemic that is there in the recent year. So government and state, they were not coordinating, because federal government said कि this is Delhi अपना oxygen अपने आप लाएगी, Delhi says कि नहीं, हमें तो central government नहीं provide करा रही है. These are the basic technical or and in the case of medical emergency, these were the time of medical emergency. So these are the very unclear areas of health insurance, and we need to spend more on public health, on health insurance. Government should step in the particularly in the insurance sector. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Madam, almost 50 years ஆச்சு மேடம் இந்தியாவில் ஒரு மென்டல் இல்னஸ்க்கு வந்து கவரேஜ் கொடுக்கிறதுக்கு 50 years ஆயிடுச்சு நம்மளுக்கு. அது கூட up to 25% of the submission they are started. In future it will be there is a lot of changes வரதுக்கு chances இருக்கு.
I completely agree. It is still a teething problem. So we hope that it will evolve and become a better scheme at least for the patients. Yeah. But I think there are a few issues that we need to highlight here. Most of the treatment in mental health happens in the outpatient setting. And most insurance now covers only inpatient treatment, that too only for a short period. And when it comes to inpatient treatment, most admissions in a mental health facility will not be for a few days or a few weeks. It would be for a minimum period of a couple of months or more, and people can stay even longer. So, and outpatient treatment is actually more expensive than inpatient care, because the cost of therapy, the cost of consultation, the travel, the cost of medication, And I think therapy is more expensive than medication anywhere. So, and the period of treatment, the period of engagement that is needed for someone to be in treatment, all this is a major expenditure and people tend to drop out of treatment. So how do you think insurance companies can help us? And legally, how do you think this can help us? Both Mr. Muthu and Sanjay, I think both of you can take it one after the other.
Hello.
You have to be,
Mr. Muthu, you want to start first, please?
Yes, sir. Actually, insurance company is providing before admission 30 days and admission and after discharge 60 days expenses only they are providing, sir.
Okay. See, let me just read for you Section 21(4) of the Mental Health Care Act. Every insurer shall make provision for medical insurance for treatment of mental illness on the same basis as is available for treatment of physical illness. Treatment. Where does it say only inpatient or outpatient treatment? It says treatment. That is the letter of the law. Now, the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission in Pravat Kumar Mukherjee versus Ruby Hospital had very clearly said that often, there is this wait for approval from the third-party administrator, TPA. Very clearly, it ruled that hospital expenses can wait, medical treatment must be started. Many of these judgments are not aware to the common man isn't aware of many of these judgments, which are actually path-breaking. Because again, you have the Code of Medical Ethics, clauses 10 and 13 under Section 33 of the Medical Councils Act, which very clearly talk about an obligation to treat patients even before the fees come in. I mean, these are regulations. However, I think it is time for us. I often wonder, and that's the reason why I have enormous respect for an organization like SCARF. What would people in Chennai or in the south of the Vindhyas have done had SCARF not existed? I pose this question to the government of India. What would people have done, those who have people suffering from mental illness in their families? What would they have done if SCARF had not been around?
Correct.
And therefore, SCARF needs all the support, all the subsidies, whatever support it can get, because it is actually doing the work of the government. I often tell people, when there is no GO, there is an NGO. When there is no government action, an NGO, especially the credible ones like SCARF, fill that void. And therefore, I would take this responsibility to salute SCARF for the kind of work that they've been doing. We need to clone SCARF in a sense, I feel. And we need all the possible incentives. I think we need to completely overhaul the way insurance is packaged in our country. Mental health is here staring us in the face. It should be treated just like physical ailments, and there should be some leniency shown, especially when it comes to outpatient treatment. It's something like even domiciliary care. These should be woven into policies. Policies should be citizen-friendly. They should be patient-friendly. They should be customer-friendly. And because I keep saying we are a welfare state. India is a welfare state. If the government cannot provide for treatment in government hospitals, that's where the private sector comes in. It cannot be unaffordable. Today, for a family, as I tell you, 5 or 10 lakh is nothing. It will go just like that. We've seen what was during COVID, when those who needed ventilators and hospital beds, you saw the amount of money that hospitals were charging. But the government, after the public outcry, had to come and cap treatment. So insurance is a necessity today, and we need all the possible tax breaks. We need to completely overhaul the way insurance policies are worked so that those suffering from mental illness, their families especially, get some kind of support and some kind of respite when they take a medical insurance policy. It should come to their rescue in some adequate measure. I mean, that is my prayer and that is my wish.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. I think it's a point all of us need to think about. So, Dr. Meenakshi, can you tell us what do you think should be the way forward, especially since you deal with both physical health issues and mental health issues when it comes to insurance? Dr. Meenakshi, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So from my side, actually, what happened was it was such a, I don't know what is the word I should use. I was so shocked because insurance could not be taken for my niece. And then I came back to SCARF and I sent a mail to Dr. Padmavati. I even spoke to her about it. And then later on, I just thought that maybe the Psychiatrists Association, I don't know, all in ophthalmology, we have a state organization and we have an all India organization. Maybe the All India Psychiatrists Organization can put a proposal to the, because we all come under Indian Medical Association, maybe through the Indian Medical Association and then probably to the Health Ministry and from there to the IRDA. I don't know how it goes, or they should pass. See, like from whatever Sanjay Pinto is saying, that he says already all these bills have been passed in the parliament, the rule exists, but it's in reality, it is not being executed. That's what I understand from whatever Pinto is saying is, it's all there, but it's not being executed. So I don't know how that will really come about. I really do not know. But I really wish something could be done about it. But like, what is it? Wherever we go, first thing, as see in my niece case, no, I know I'm a doctor myself, and when we do surgeries, we do have insurance patients, and we see a lot of people who also come, insurance agents who come and tell us, Doctor, you have a policy ketana, you can why don't you give my name? They come and give their visiting cards. In my niece case, I could have easily lied, because every year, 1.5 years, I have all her master health checkup reports. That is, it covers everything. So she's neither diabetic nor hypertensive nor a cardiac patient. So I could have easily lied. Even as I'm taking the policy, I need not even disclose it. But that's just not in me. Because tomorrow something we do not know down the years what is going to happen, who will outlive whom. See, in my case, my sister passed away. My mother lived till 90. My sister passed away early. So, and then my sister passed away all of a sudden, and we came into the scene just like that. So I really wish I just came into this, because like my niece, there may be so many people suffering. See, and unlike physical illness, in mental illness, it's the family which suffers. Mentally ill person is in a different world. And unlike physical illness is the patient himself who's suffering. In mental illness, see, you yourself and scarf, everywhere you have written dare to exclude. It's the patient's attendant, the parents or the brothers, the sisters, the spouse who's really suffering. And I endorse Pinto's statement. I too salute scarf. But for scarf, I do not know what I would have done. Had there been no scarf, I do not know how I would have looked after Lalita. So I 100,000% endorse his statement. And I'm really grateful to Scarf. I take this opportunity to thank Scarf for everything that has been. Lalita is coming to VTC for the last 20 years. Thank you very much.
Okay. Nargis, I would like to ask you, could you suggest if there are some strategies that we could employ as mental health professionals, or the journalists, if they can do something to raise awareness about insurance and mental health through the media?
Yes, of course, ma'am. We should create awareness. Even this is the executive. This is the duty of executive of the government. But in the media sector, should definitely create awareness. However, they are not, in my opinion, and I found they are not doing their work, because most of the journalists are generally active when there is a celebrity suicide, or there is some high profile mental illness case came up or come up. But this is not the way the media is dealing with this issue will come into the public domain. This is the duty of media also, to create awareness through the writing, through public discussion, through case studies, negative as well as positive. If I'm talking about in my case, 2 to 3 years back, I was pretty much interested writing or working on the mental health issue. But most of the journalists I saw, they took case study, or they took to describe the community problem, but not not talking about the policy issues, uh, mental health related program issues, laws, flaws of law, government duty and role, the budgetary allocation, I must say. So create awareness through, these information giving to the masses. ठीक है, केस स्टडीज ओके, वो भी चलता है, लेकिन इसके अलावा वी शुड प्रोवाइड देम the way forward of the particular situation, or the nodal agencies we should approach, or what should I say, the state policy. In fact, every state has a health policy. In fact, in southern states, I found they have so many mental health policies also, but they are simultaneously, they are not talking about the mental health insurance. So we should, and we have to write on these issues more and more, just to create public, just to bring that issue in the public domain and create more and more awareness, where be it a urban sector, urban city, or tier 2, 3 city, or a rural area. Everybody needs, mental health. They are their fundamental rights. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Madam, at present, there is no separate policy for covering mental illness, madam. All general insurance policies should be covered mental illness from 2021 April onwards.
Okay.
All general policies should be covered, madam.
Okay.
Yes, sir, but I am talking about before COVID and before 2018.
Okay. Okay. So that is a good news that all health policies will have to cover mental health conditions. But then the question still remains, are persons with pre-existing mental health issues getting the cover that they are needed? Because from the chats that came, the messages that came in the chat box, a lot of people have been asking, have been mentioning that persons with mental illness have not been covered. And Amrit Bakshi was mentioning about there is a pathetic 1,200 to 1,500 rupees per year of insurance claim that is available for outpatient department. I don't know if it will even cover one visit fully. So I think there is a lot of gaps between what the need is and what is actually being offered. So I have one more issue that I think we should discuss. Well, accidents are covered by insurance. So why is deliberate self-harm or suicidal attempts being viewed differently by the insurance companies? Does the law actually allow that? Because I think, Sanjay, though suicide has been decriminalized, I think we still have an issue about it. I don't think many people don't know that it is no longer a punishable offense. So where does suicide fall when it comes to insurance?
As I said earlier, Doctor, Section 115 of the Mental Health Care Act, it starts with the non-obstant clause, which starts with the word notwithstanding. Notwithstanding anything contained in Section 309 of the Indian Penal Code. That's a provision which punishes an attempt to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Any person who attempts to commit suicide should be presumed, unless proved otherwise, to have severe stress and shall not be tried and punished under the said code. Then subsection 2 of that says the appropriate government shall have a duty to provide care, treatment, and rehabilitation to a person having severe stress and who attempted to commit suicide to reduce the risk of recurrence of attempts to commit suicide. This is the letter of the law. Therefore, the excuse that hospitals give when it comes to refusing to take patients, to admit patients with a history of mental illness, falls flat. There is no reason anymore. It will only be an excuse in the light of the statutory provisions. I think that's very, very clear now.
Okay.
I think it is important. I see so many cases. Meenakshi's case was heartrending, really, to say the least, and hats off to her for taking care of her niece. I think it is important for us in terms of legal empowerment, one, to be aware of the law, which webinars like these that purpose will be served. Secondly, for us to enforce the law. How do you enforce the law? One, if you have a grievance with a policy claim being rejected, there is a sort of a mandated procedure to be followed. First, you write to the nodal officer of that insurance company. Then you can escalate that to the insurance ombudsman. But I often don't really have much faith in these ombudsmen, whether they are banking ombudsmen or insurance ombudsmen, because birds of a feather adjudicate together. They are drawn from the same industry. The ombudsman, whether it's banking or insurance, they are drawn from the same industry. So, as I said, birds of a feather adjudicate together. So I don't see much hope there. But anyway, at least it's a procedural avenue open to you. More importantly, I think you can move. I mean, however people may be disenchanted with our courts, yes, I do agree. I face it every day, from coming from a breaking news environment to courts that adjourn matters for months and years and on end. You can understand the disenchantment that I also encounter every day. So I'm saying that as a person who's stepping into the shoes of the average customer and litigant, you can go to the consumer court and sue an insurance company for rejecting your claim unfairly for an unfair trade practice under Section 247 of the Consumer Protection Act 2019. It might take time. Although the Act says 3 months, 5 months, it goes on for several years, but you can do that. The more people start suing them, in fact, I sued an insurance company and they quickly came and hurriedly settled and gave off my client all the money that was due to them. So sometimes that happens. So make it a point to sue as far as possible. Secondly, you can go to the High Court and you can even question that the violation of your fundamental right, because if you've taken a policy, and these insurance companies are also in a sense discharging a public duty, and they are governed by the IRDA. IRDA is a statutory body. So you have writ jurisdiction in the High Court. You can file a writ petition in the High Court for violation of your fundamental rights, because refusal to honor a policy on unfair terms is a violation of your fundamental right to life under Article 21. So you can go to the Ombudsman for whatever it's worth. You can go to the Consumer Court. Remember, the Consumer Court is an act not in derogation of any other law, which means you can go to the Consumer Court plus you can go to the High Court.
Okay.
So it's not just an alternate remedy; it's an additional remedy for you. So I think the more and more people go to the court, that's when insurance companies, see, we're not here to target insurance companies, because at the end of the day, it's business for them as well. They are not in this for charity. It's business for them. It should make economic sense for them. But there should be a principle of fairness. And a person who takes a policy should be able to get some relief. May not be the entire amount, but some relief, so that, I can sense the pain in Dr. Meenakshi's voice when she spoke. I know what it is. When my mother passed away in a hospital, and I know how they said, we had a policy, and then they said, no, for cardiac treatment, it is only not 5 lakh, it is 2.75 lakh. No one told us earlier all this. These wheels within wheels are never disclosed to the customer. They're never disclosed. Only when they go and when you hurriedly sign, standing literally on 1 foot, sign the consent form, and then they tell you this is the amount and all that. Nobody looks at it. Whatever you want to save your life, you want to save your family member's life, so you just sign on the dotted line. So I think there has to be greater awareness. There has to be legal enforcement. The legal enforcement is what is missing. And I think, therefore, I would urge people to, especially to SCARF, to be a flag bearer in a sense. And I am willing, in whatever limited way I can, to provide pro bono services to SCARF. I've told Dr. Tara and Dr. Sridhar and Dr. Padmavati, and I'm telling Dr. Mangala as well today, that if there's anything that you need, patients can also approach me through SCARF, and I'm happy to lend whatever legal assistance is possible. But this is a battle worth fighting.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sanjay. That's very encouraging. We feel better that we know that there are people on our side. I'm happy to see that Dr. Bhagyam is here in the group. And Madam, if you're feeling better, we would definitely like to hear from you about your views on how mental health is working.
Yeah, I just want to say that this is a very good way to do, because I also talked to IRDA regarding this because I was also fighting for cancer breast biopsies. They used to not reimburse the biopsy, as an OP procedure. They'll say, if you get admitted, we will reimburse your we'll reimburse that. Then people don't come for the biopsy. Then you've lost that window of opportunity for that patient, because the disease is severe, you take chemotherapy. And the same thing is true for mental illness. So if you're not taking the OP first, outpatient, and patient doesn't come to you, then it's not going to be of any use to the patient. So, and actually it's a loss of revenue in more ways than one. So I think this is something that, though IRDA and only in words, there is a law. When I went there, I said it's all there in paper, but there is a problem. Similarly, Mr. Sanjay said about that accident insurance. They reimburse the accident victim, but rehab, there is no money at all being spent in. What is the point in removing this subdural hemorrhage or treating the fracture when you're not able to bring him back to the community? The very you know, you have to have reimbursement for some kind of rehab, and rehab takes time, but it doesn't, it's a very dedicated technician, I mean, nurse kind of a work, but it has to be relentless. Okay. So unless we do certain relaxation techniques, like even yoga, okay, you don't reimburse, but it has its own benefits. Okay. So unless we change this mindset of insurance companies saying that IP will be reimbursed, but OP will not be reimbursed, you know, and then only corporates also will be, you know, they will not, or you do cheating business, like where you will unnecessarily, you know, kind of, you know, make the patient IP for inpatient for it's, you know, that's how you do that. And you just let the disease, the horse bolt away, and also the disease to mature so that nobody can do anything about it.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. I see a couple of other raised hands as well. Mr. Suresh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I have written in my chat about the insurance, what under the permanent exclusion, they reject it. They don't give any reason. And we are always busy with taking care of our MI. So in that case, Mr. Bansal has filed a petition, but it takes time. So there is no united efforts or nothing is there. We have lost our hope. See, my claims were very high, but see, nothing has happened. On top of that, the agent, the staff, he said that in future he has got a claim for any physical illness also. They will verify whether it is because of this one.
Okay.
Yeah, see, this is something which is another disaster, this one. And they will verify whether this claim is because of the MI.
Okay.
So how can we, where is the for us? There's no.
Okay. Yeah, we are actually coming to we are nearing the end of this program. So I would like to hear from Dr. Padmavati, the Director of SCAF.
Thanks, Mangala. Thanks for putting together at this program at such a short notice. It was really very, very enlightening. A lot of things that we would hear other than, you know, the usual stories that we hear in our clinics. I really appreciate all our speakers today who have thrown light on the status as it is today, right? Now, there were a few statements in the chat box saying that, you know, the SCAF should take the lead on, you know, being the torchbearer, was I think what Sanjay had raised. But I do think that I ask myself, are we the best speakers? Yeah, I don't want to absolve myself of any responsibility in this case. But I think here is a situation where teamwork is required. We do require our patients, our families, the mental health professionals, the legal fraternity, and anyone else who's interested in making a noise to actually raise this forward. There was one note in the chat box saying that the government is responsible for creating awareness. And I think this is such a wide topic, and there are so many nuances that I don't think really, you know, the time taken for creating awareness is really going to be very long. But then can we start talking? Is something that we should think about together. And I would definitely like to propose a kind of a task force where we all get together and start talking, maybe use the media, maybe use the social media, maybe, you know, try and create as much noise as we can for this so that someone will start listening. Maybe not immediately, but at some point, someone should start listening to us. And I would definitely encourage members of this the gathering today who have come in good numbers, and we didn't really expect such a good number, but I would certainly appreciate that if you know, someone can take the lead, and certainly SCAF is you know, there to support such kind of call. We did it some years ago with disability. We led the advocacy towards the disability. So I don't think we really lack the will to you know, lead this on insurance as well. But I think we need a bigger voice box. We need a bigger platform in which we can scream our throats out so that someone somewhere up there will actually hear. Thank you. Thank you, Mangla, for putting this
Yeah.
together.
Thank you, ma'am. So I see one more raised hand, Shubhra Chakravarti. Yeah, and I think with that, we will come to a close. Yeah, please go ahead, madam.
Actually, ma'am, I took United India Insurance for my sister in 2019. She is a bipolar schizoaffective disorder patient. And since then, I thought that it will be good to raise her premium, no? So this year I applied for the premium, and the insurance company said as if I am starting from the scratches. You know, when I pay more, like I want to change the policy, not the policy, but the premium, because if she is hospitalized, she is getting older also every year. So I thought that it will be good to raise the premium. And the agent said, when you start, you want to raise the premium, means you are starting as if from zero. So what, like I have paid like for 2 years for nothing, and again she will be considered as a new policy holder. You understand? If
Okay.
I don't know if I'm clear.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think with all this that came up for discussion, two things are very, very clear. One, people with mental health issues, or people in general, the awareness about insurance is very less amongst us, and awareness about mental health insurance is even lesser. And I think the insurance industry also needs to be aware of health issues in general and mental health issues in particular before they start developing their policies. And like Sanjay was mentioning, it needs to be a little more transparent. We are not privy to the factors that they use for excluding somebody from a policy or including someone from a policy, because the reasons are generally not revealed very easily to a person who asks for it. So we need to work together with the industry. We can't do without them. And we need to work on raising awareness. And I think there is a responsibility for people who are like-minded, be it a mental health professional or a legal professional or a person from the industry itself. You know, if people, we come together, and of course, with the support of the media, if we come together, and it's a great idea from Dr. Padma to have a task force which can work on this. And that would definitely help us to move forward. And maybe a few years from now, insurance may not be an issue for persons with mental health problems, and it might be a smooth ride. I think we are all hoping that it will happen. So thank you very much for all of you for taking your time off at such short notice and being with us here. Thank you very much, and looking forward to see you again in another such interesting meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Perfect.